So shall we start?
Yes, we shall.
Perfect. I'm super happy. All right, fine. So as we know, as we agreed on before the conversation, the first question would be, who are you? If you could introduce yourself and like to tell a few words about your background, about your story, about how you ended up in Poland, and how you feel about staying here for almost 2 years. From what you are saying, this would be like a perfect way to start today's meeting.
Okay, so should it be in Polish or in English?
I think we can do it in English as a warm-up, both for you, and for these guys, and for me. Even though I was speaking like for half of a day in English today, we can do it in English.
Well, I do it also every day, but nevertheless, hello, dzień dobry. Jestem bardzo szczęśliwy, że jestem tutaj, w domu Tokersów. Okay, so now we can stick. Now we can stick to English.
It was a good start.
Yeah,
good start
yeah,
is crucial to having success.
Yeah, well, yes, my name is Bogdan. My full name is Bogdan Popescu. I'm from Romania, and for the last 2 years, I've been pretty much most of the time in Tricity, in this lovely Trójmiasto, which right now is not very pleasant with the weather, but well, we'll survive. I mean, I survived already a Polish winter at the seaside. I guess I can survive also the second one. So basically, I am, as you nicely put it in the title, a word which I kind of invented because I like playing with languages. I am the językarz, which I understand is not really in the dictionary, which is kind of like a linguist. Well, I'm not that much of a linguist. Theoretically, I am, because this is what I actually did in university. I'm a major of philology, of English and German philology. That's what I used to...
And German?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
But that's quite rusty right now.
All right.
But still, from time to time...
Still a fact, it's still on the paper.
Yeah, it's still on the paper, and actually I still try to practice it. I mean, I still have friends from Germany, or German friends who are here in Tricity, and whenever we meet, we actually talk either in German or in English or in Polish. Yes, surprisingly, there are also German people who know Polish. Which I have to say, yes, it's been quite a big of a challenge to learn in the beginning, because it was all very weird. I mean, Romanian is not very similar with Polish, so it's quite different. And of course, you're feeling bombarded with lots of information in the very beginning, and you don't really know when a sentence starts and a sentence finishes. That was at least in the beginning.
Or if it was just a sound or just a real word.
Yeah, well, imagine that in my first 2 weeks in Poland, I heard like 12 or 13 variations of dzień dobry. It was like dzień dobry, dzień dobry, dzień dobry.
Dzień doberek.
Dzień doberek, tu koperek.
Siema, siemanko, siemaneczko.
Exactly.
Jak się masz?
And also, of course, the classical word cześć, which some people say chests or whatever. And of course, I was very confused in the beginning. I'm like, which is which and what is what? But I could say that almost 10 years after, no, not really 10 years, 6, 7 years after finishing university, I realized this is the moment when studying languages, basically, studying foreign languages, really helps to understand more of the process. But I wasn't that much of, an academia guy. I mean, yeah, I had to go through all the process, and technically I have studied all the linguistics things, which I can remember now in like 10%. I mean, the whole theory.
It's a good score, actually. 10% is like relatively high.
Well, that's theory. I mean, I do it every day in practice, and I think that's what really matters. And I think this is what we have to show people, that they get so afraid about the theory. I mean, that they are so scared about it, about the whole thing. They still stick to the idea that learning a language is still sticking to a classroom with lots of other students and probably a boring teacher. Or a teacher who cannot, handle a mass of, let's say, 12, 13, or 20 people. So
I had 40 in my high school.
There you go.
In one class.
So how many lessons of English did you have?
I think it was like something between 3 and 4.
Well, that's still good. I mean, usually people have like 2 or 3. And, I mean, even when I was a teacher or a trainer of English, which I also did in Poland, that was quite a cool experience, because I had the occasion to do it with you, basically.
That's true. Thank you for the kind words.
And thank you for the nice experience which I had.
Yes.
I mean, it was not easy, because most of the people, they were very scared of speaking in English with me, and I had no idea how to handle that in Polish. So basically, I think me and the learners were all learning. I mean, I was learning their language and they were learning English. And it was not easy. I mean, people, they get this kind of erroneous idea of what fluency in a language should be, or what it really is, and I think it's pretty much like going to the gym. Like, I mean, we all like to see people who have muscles and stuff and they look good and stuff, but we forget about the work they do in the process. And this is what happens also with languages. I mean, the brain is also a muscle. Surely it's not visible, but it can still be sexy, I think. So the work here is more invisible than going to a gym and, you can pride yourself with a six-pack and stuff and you can get some girls. And I think you can also do it with languages pretty much.
You can always get six-pack, on your forehead.
Exactly, yeah.
Kind of equal.
Yeah. But the benefits are not that visible in the beginning. So I guess this is what is discouraging people a lot. That they think like, oh my God, it's such a long road. I mean, they want, they want to make it as fast as possible, and everybody at one point falls in this trap like, oh, learn a language in 28 days or whatever. And honestly, that's not really possible. I mean, yeah, you can grasp some basics, you can get an idea of what a language might be, but some people really get lost. And it was really funny because not the last, one of the last Social English Night editions, there was this guy who was an observer, right? Because you also have this position of an observer, a person who just goes there and monitors what's happening. But that guy was very talkative. I mean, I was really impressed. He was like 50 years or so, and he was talking, and he kept telling me that, I don't know, my language is not very good. I'm like, but you're telling me in perfect English. And
they are saying like this sentence, I'm not very good at English, making no mistake.
Well, I heard it in like 98% of the cases, and honestly, I'm bored with it. I'm like,
same here.
Yeah, I hear this all the time. I'm like, okay, so are we going to stick to this till the end of the session, or are we actually going to do something about it? But well, if in the beginning, I mean, like, let's say 17 years ago when I actually started as a kid to learn languages and stuff, I didn't really have much of a variety of things. I mean, of resources, let's say. I mean, pretty much it was, those big dictionaries, the big scary dictionaries and the old textbooks.
They're still scary.
They're still scary?
the news is they're still scary.
Well, now you can have everything in an app on a laptop, and you have access to so many resources you can just, get for free. So I'm thinking, like, why even pay money for materials when you already have it all there? But people understand that they actually need also a structure to learn this. But I think that one of the issue which people dive too much in is, of course, grammar itself. That they think, oh, there's so much grammar. And I'm like, seriously? English is really easy compared to Polish. I mean, you've got so many inflections and tenses, and I didn't really bother to learn them by the book. I mean, I don't really learn stuff by the book. I just go by, in the process. And this is, I think, a different issue, that people are scared to make fool of themselves because they are going to look bad. And I'm just thinking, like, there's nothing bad actually with making a fool of yourself. You actually be more memorable, and it helps you, let's say, to make that ego more flexible actually, because putting yourself at risk in situations makes it even more interesting as a learning process. And I think this is what Social English Nights does it very nicely, that it provokes people, it challenges them to speak in English. And they seem to do pretty well. I mean, I met people of all levels, and they still come, which is, I think, a good idea. And this is actually what learning a language should be in the end. It's a social thing. It's no longer a thing, a process which is hidden in a classroom with some other people there and pretty much not getting interested in it. But when you put it in a social context, like in a meeting, whatever, you talk with people in having a beer or a tea, and you just talk about anything, really. I mean, there's no rule to that. And there's really nobody judging. This is what people, I think they should really get it. Nobody really cares. I mean...
That's true. Like, nobody pays attention.
Except themselves.
Yeah,
they care a lot. Well, honestly, I don't care. I mean, yes, I may make mistakes, and I'm really not that, shy about it. It's perfectly fine to make mistakes. It's perfectly fine to make a fool out of yourself, because that's a more interesting learning experience instead of putting a barrier, basically, and oh no, what should I say now? Oh no, I don't know how to say this.
What's the tense I should use in this
Yeah,
context?
exactly. I mean, for us, because we are, let's say, professional trainers, you can spot the tense in quite less than 5 seconds. The way you hear it, you just you just use this really nice past perfect. That's a nice touch. But nevertheless, we don't say that you have to do this. I mean, really, there's no point in learning all the tenses. Of course, there is a point in learning them, because once you learn them, or you learn how to use them, that's what really, makes magic happen, and that's language. But English is not really about tenses. English is about communication, and languages in general are about communication. So if we forget a bit about this whole idea of that it's scary. It's for sure a very challenging experience to learn a language at every age. And I was thinking that I won't be able to learn another language. I mean, yes, I landed here in Poland 2 years ago. I basically joined a volunteering project for 1 year in Gdynia. And guess what? I'm still here. I'm actually enjoying myself pretty much. And if some of my colleagues, they're kind of scared to go out in the world, I thought that there's no better way actually to explore the language, let's say, than by just going to see things, to meet people. And yeah, it will not be a very easy task. I mean, you can imagine that my first experience in a bar mleczny was very exhausting and frustrating. It was very frustrating because unlike, other restaurants and places where you have pictures and stuff of food, I had to kind of describe to a lady who was, pretty middle-aged as well, to tell her that,
I wish I was there,
I would just, want some French fries and some chicken with that. And she was like, I have no idea what you're telling me. She was like, nie rozumiem. And then, I see this picture on a billboard there, or whatever. There was like a poster with Coca-Cola, the typical marketing thingy. And I just show them, there is Coca-Cola. And those are chips. And she's like, fritki. Yes.
Yes.
That and many other, very challenging situations. But yes, nevertheless, I am forced to, or at least I was put in these difficult situations in the very beginning. And that was very educational because that's when I was paying attention to people, to what they say. And that's how pretty much it begins. You just need to listen. Actually, I think this is one of the issues, that people don't pay enough attention. I suddenly told my students that just by reading a book, but trying to see what's under that book. I mean, trying to see what tenses are used, what vocabulary is used. And I will go back to my good old friend, which is a dictionary of people with which people are so scared. The dictionary has so much information that can provide you just for one word, from etymology to pronunciation to context. It's just beautiful. I mean, I open the dictionary every day at work.
Really?
Yeah, I still learn. That's the whole fun of learning, that it never ends. You are never, all done.
But people want an end product. They want they want to be the final product and they want to use it without constant improvement. And this is the challenge in the mentality.
Well, I guess now with the new technologies, with Google, the translate thing, this could actually happen. But I mean, they are actually building, this kind of mechanism, let's say, of actually producing language by itself. You just write whatever or you just say whatever you want, and the app will translate automatically. But it's not the same thing. I mean, nothing beats direct communication. And I think people should see this as an opportunity to learn stuff, not just as a concrete challenge. I mean, once you change a bit your attitude about what a language is, it starts to open up, and then it's surprising what you can find out. I mean, I'm every day surprised about what I found out in Polish.
There's no.
I mean, yeah, seriously. I mean,
this must be the journey,
It is a journey,
adventure.
And it's an adventure that really doesn't have an end. I mean, maybe we are in the small category of people who really take English as a finality, because this is what we do every day. We teach English, or we write in English, or I don't know, we just live in English pretty much for a couple of hours or more a day. So the main element basically is just practice. There's no not a real secret recipe. No, I'm sorry. I mean, obviously,
it's that simple.
Nobody said it's going to be easy,
but it's simple.
But it's simple. It is very simple, and you just have to figure out what the tools are. I mean, what tools you want to use, because it's like a big puzzle. There are so many ways of solving it, and at one point when you see that there are connections, and you're aware of what you're learning, that's when really magic happens. And on the other hand, coming back to learning situations and how challenging learning a language can be.
So this is the thing I wanted to ask you about. I mean, just taking into consideration when you are progressing, what was the transition? I mean, maybe not the transition, but what was the key point in your Polish learning? Basically, when you felt like, I'm not in the place I started anymore. I'm like a different person when it comes to Polish language. So if you can elaborate on this, this would be perfect.
Very good question.
Sorry for interrupting, but
no,
we just
no.
have around 40-45 minutes for this.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask a couple of other questions.
Well, just for the fact that I can go into the SKM and I can listen to people and actually understand what they're saying, or I can do more than just, buy bread and go to a place and eat something. And I can actually interact with people. I can talk with them on different topics. I think that's quite a, not just a benefit. It's a, what's the word? It's a prize. It's a prize, actually. I mean, it's a real prize that I can actually, get to understand people. Of course, I don't have the speed you have when you talk in Polish, and that's still, amazing me. And I'm thinking, like, maybe one day I'll be as,
This will be the same thing with Romanian. If you started speaking Romanian, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but there was something actually I was reading, because of course every day I read on languages, on different topics and stuff, and there was this kind of a different way of categorizing languages. And Polish and Romanian actually, they fall pretty much in the same category. And the label is a language which is easy to learn, I know, some people laugh, but hard to master.
Polish language or English language?
Polish and Romanian. They're languages which are not really that hard to learn, but it's really hard to master it, because there's so many subtle elements in these languages. And Wiktor has been telling me lots of, tips, which were
inside
not...
stories.
Yes, inside stories.
I just taught him what it means to, like, when we say ocho jebne, right? And I was able to actually explain it to him, like, partially in English, partially in Polish, I guess.
Polish, yes, but... this richness of the vocabulary is so impressive, and I really think that swearing in Polish is an art,
Yeah, that's true.
which I still cannot master yet. I mean, it's not that I make this, a daily job, but this is one really good thing to do, I think. You just go on the street and listen to what people say. Mm-hmm. And at one point, it was really funny, because I was, just walking in Gdańsk, in a kind of, let's say, an unknown area for me, and I see this lady going out of the car, and I'm like, przepraszam, gdzie jest Biedronka? And then she replies to me, very naturally, like, nie mam zielonego pojęcia. Mm-hmm. And then to me, there was a revelation. I mean, I know the words, and I'm like, okay, I know what each word is, but I never heard them in this context. Like, I have no green idea. That's so cool. And I use it next day at work, when my coordinator asked me, like, where is the pencil? And I'm like, of course, nie mam zielonego pojęcia. And then she's like, well, czyli nie well. Well, no, mówiłeś jak prawdziwy Polakiem.
Prawdziwy Polak, tak.
Yeah. So that's what pretty much was. I mean, I'm, kind of capturing all these sounds from outside, and then I reproduce them. Of course, I do check sometimes. I mean, context is also helping a lot. But my situation is a bit different than for the people who are here and they learn English, because yes, I do listen to Polish every day. I cannot avoid it, and I don't want to avoid it. I mean, I do know people who have been living here for like 10 years or so, and they perfectly manage to avoid the language. I mean, they still go and buy their stuff in English, and they do their chores in English. And that's just a matter of, if you want to provoke yourself or to, raise an interest in that or not. It's everybody's own decision, really. I didn't think that I would really learn Polish, but somehow in between it happened.
Shit happens, as they say. So there's a funny story connected with swearing, because one of the guys we are working with, his name is Rafał. So if you are watching this, or if your girlfriend is watching this, hello. They are both living in Krakow at the moment and working with us, like in the company. Yes, I agree. So there's a funny thing, because there's a test that helps you estimate how many words you know, more or less, in English language. And my score was something around 9,000, right? So it's like, it was okay. And then when Rafał took the test, it was about 20. Like, no, twice as much as I do, or actually twice as many. And the fun part was that he said, no, Wiktor, this test actually didn't monitor all the bad words. Because if they were included, it would be like 23 or 5, So when it comes to swearing, I would recommend him as as your guru and your mentor, as he watched all the films and movies, and like basically he's like consuming lots of content from pop culture. All right, fine. So this is what we have. Fine. So what are your life hacks? Let's say. I mean, what are your tricks? I don't like the word trick, but no, your ways of basically scaling your skill, of like really developing the skill in a way or with a pace that is satisfying. Because like, as you said, like one of the biggest challenges when it comes to many people is that they are impatient about their language. So basically the only way to confront this impatience is to develop like first right mentality. So like take your time, but on the other hand, somehow let's say supplement this area of like increasing the speed of learning, because I've been learning English.
Jest 20:30.
Jest 20:30. So I've been learning the language for the last 13 or 14 years, right? And basically the level I have today was achieved, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, more or less. Like, the last 2 or 3 years, they weren't as productive as the previous were, which is like obvious and natural. So this is like, let's say about 10 years of learning, and people get confused and like disappointed after the first semester. They're like, holy shit, I'm never going to make it. I'm like, dude, I've been studying for 10 years to achieve the level I have today, and you are, let's say, killing yourself after like one, not so good semester. Or actually, let's face it, is it like not so good because you think it is, or was it like really objectively not that good, which is like two different things, like, the perception and reality. But let's put it on the side for a sec. So coming back to the main topic, like, what are your ways, your tricks for scaling the language?
Okay. Well,
and by the way, we have 24 people watching us, so it's like the audience.
I'm really glad I can entertain the audience, I hope. If I bore you too much, please leave a comment, and please ask questions if you have any.
Leave a comment, but don't leave the live stream.
Yeah, exactly. So life hacks. One of them, which is a bit technical, but I think it really helps a lot, is learning phonetics.
Right.
The phonetic alphabet. Because with that, if you learn the IPA system, which you can find lots of guides on the internet, you can actually, decrypt the first symbols that show up in a dictionary after a word, and that's the pronunciation of the word. Not just the pronunciation, but also the stress. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like one of the most.
So can you rephrase the word stress, because we both
Accent?
know what it means. Because like when you speak stress in Poland, it's like the stress, like the negative feeling. That
Jest dużo stresu.
Yeah, exactly. so like
So the word in Polish would be accent.
I would say that.
So yes, basically, if you check it in every dictionary, whether online or offline, the first strange letters are the letters that show you how to pronounce it, and not just in English. Actually, that's a funny thing, because obviously it's an international phonetic alphabet, so all the languages use it, and it's really cool to see how to explore this, because of course you have sounds which are very similar, you have words which are very similar, but pronounced a bit differently, have a different meaning. Nothing comes to my mind right now, but everybody can think of that a bit.
This is the thing, every time I have, the same thing has happened with you, like every time I have like a brilliant thought, and it's like, let me give you an example, it's like, holy fuck, I don't have an example. Like,
well, let's go with the most simple ones, 3 and tree. You see that they are very similar, or Tricity, right? But tree, try, whatever. You can see the difference.
Or 3, if you want to have like an Indian accent, you would say 3.
Could be.
Oh no, in Indian and Russian, this is what I actually observed. Like Russian people too, they like, there's Elena, and I'm saying hello to Elena. Pozdrawiam cię gorąco. If you're watching this, Elena is so cute because she keeps saying 3 cups of water.
3 cups of water.
Like thank you. So
well,
it's cute.
Th is not it's not a Polish sound, so it's not that easy to assimilate. And chi is not an English sound as well, so...
It is.
Chi.
Tongue twister, I would say.
Well, imagine it was not even easy for me to say chi. But, I kind of figured it out.
This is a life hack.
Now I can actually also pronounce the name of my favorite beer, but I suppose we shouldn't make any... my favorite beer, which is not a very easy word to pronounce for people, which is pszeniczniak.
Pszeniczniak.
And I love the sound of it.
Pszeniczniak. Like, he's the living proof that you can do it, right? Pszeniczniak.
Można zostawić browara na komentę.
Następnie, jak przyjdziecie na Social English Night, to stawiacie mu kolejkę browarów.
No właśnie.
A potem zanosicie do domu, bo będzie totalnie narąbany, jak już pije te wszystkie piwa.
Bardzo możliwe. Anyway, coming back.
Yes.
I think the most easy, maybe not easy in most of the cases, but a simple thing to do is to realize what the structure is, because every language has a different structure. And it's easy to find it with Polish, which actually was confusing for me because it's very flexible. Mm-hmm. But English is not that flexible, and that's an advantage because some things, they fall logically. So what I would actually suggest people to understand a bit is the syntax of the language. Because once you get this thing, it's really easy to produce correct sentences. And I think it's very rewarding to actually, be able to pronounce yourself, to express your feelings in a correct way. Of course, another hack would be to try to be aware of your process of learning, and to be aware that you'll be making lots of mistakes, and that's perfectly fine, but also to find a way, to correct yourself. And here you can get feedback from other people, which pretty much I think happens at the social English nights. I mean, I do tend to correct the people I talk to because I know and I hope they understand that this is an educational process nevertheless. I mean, yes, we do meet to grab a beer or a cup of tea.
Hey, yeah, dude, like, he has, not he have.
He have not. Yeah, well, but
Isn't it correct?
he has not.
I guess, yeah.
No, but you know, also this is a very delicate issue on how to make this kind of a feedback to be like friendly. And when we are learning with a tutor, with a trainer, this relationship needs to be built somehow because it's a trust relationship in the end. And it happens in a very social, also on every Thursday, in a very social way it happens. And people must understand that nobody is really judging them. It's what I tell everybody basically. I'm not here to judge you. If I would, I would not be here talking to you. I mean, I'm here to help people to talk better, to communicate in an effective way and to make them, you know, realize what are the strong points, what are the weak points and how they can actually improve that. And once people grab this and they can, you know, start to use the instruments by themselves, the learning process just goes by itself.
Sounds good.